She was just a woman trying to survive. A mother, working night and day to put food on the table for her children. In that office, she was treated as if she were invisible, nothing more than the hands that scrubbed the floor and carried the trash. But one morning her arrogant boss humiliated her in front of everyone. With a cold voice he ordered, "Clean the floor and stay silent." What no one expected was that this woman, humble but strong, would find the courage to speak. And when she did, her words shook the entire company and left the whole room clapping. Before we continue, I'd love to know where you're watching from today. And if you're enjoying these stories, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It was still dark when the bus stopped on Peachtree Street in Atlanta. The cold wind stung her face, but Maria, 38, kept her thin coat buttoned up to her neck and held a plastic lunchbox close to her chest. 2 children were still asleep at home, left in the care of an elderly neighbor who watched them for a few dollars. The rent was late, the fridge was nearly empty. But that morning Maria carried something that kept her steps steady, a new job. On the way to the tall glass building, Maria whispered the prayer her mother had taught her. "God never abandons the righteous. Please open a door today." She took a deep breath, walked in. The lobby gleamed like a mirror. Well-dressed receptionists, perfectly made up, typed without lifting their eyes. Maria approached with a smile. "Good morning. It's my first day. I'm here with Bright and Clean Services." The young woman at the desk pointed with her pen, without warmth. "Staff line is over there by the supply room. Next." Maria swallowed hard and nodded. This wasn't the time to feel hurt. It was time to begin. In the service hallway, the air smelled of cleaning supplies mixed with stale coffee. Rosa, a fast-talking Dominican woman with a kind heart, stretched out her hand. "You must be Maria. Early on your first day. I like that. Here's your badge." "Thank you, Mrs. Rosa." Maria clipped the badge to her uniform, treating it as if it were jewelry. "Listen, girl, today there's an inspection. The floor manager, Mr. Robert, wakes up barking orders. Nothing ever pleases him. Just keep calm, do your best, and don't answer back." Maria smiled, trying to appear confident. "I just want to work in peace." They went up together. The 17th floor felt like another world. White walls, expensive paintings, desks that looked like airplanes. Through the glass windows, the city stretched out like a promise. "You'll start at the executive coffee lounge," Rosa explained. "Empty the trash, mop the floor, organize the cups, and watch out for Jana. She loves making life hard for the new ones." Before Maria could reply, Jana appeared, spotless uniform, sharp eyes scanning her from head to toe. "So this is the new girl?" She smirked. "Let's hope she doesn't bring drama. This is work, not charity." Maria held her composure. "I came here to work." Jana gave a cold, short laugh. "We'll see." Inside the coffee lounge, Maria replaced the trash bag, wiped the counter, and lined up the cups like little soldiers. An older security guard, weary from the night shift, stopped at the door with a paper cup. "Morning, miss. Thank you for keeping the place clean. People here never notice who makes it shine." Maria offered a gentle smile. "We do it with love. That's the only way it works." Suddenly, a hurried intern bumped into a flower vase. Water spilled, petals scattered across the floor. Wide-eyed, he ran off without even saying sorry. Maria quickly knelt down, catching the vase before it broke. "It's okay," she whispered to herself, wiping the floor. A new beginning always starts with cleaning what you didn't spill. Moments later, an elegant older woman, silver hair and a brooch on her coat, stepped inside. She carried herself with grace and kindness. "Good morning, dear." She read the badge. "Maria, first day?" "Yes, ma'am." "I'm Mrs. Evelyn. If you need anything, come to me. Not everyone here knows how to say thank you, but some of us do." Maria's eyes glistened. Small acts of kindness were fuel for her spirit. At exactly 8 o'clock, the elevator doors slid open like the entrance of a general. Mr. Roberts stormed in, expensive suit, restless face, a gaze that weighed heavy. Conversations around him died down. Jana straightened her posture as if saluting. He walked past the coffee lounge, eyes darting to the floor, the counter, to Maria. But he didn't see her. It was as if she were part of the furniture. "Who left that streak on the glass?" His voice cut through the room. "This place looks like a bus station, not an office." "I just cleaned it, sir," Maria answered softly. "I can wipe it again." Robert didn't even stop. "Rosa," he barked down the hallway. "If your team can't do the basics, I'll fire half of them." Rosa rushed over, her heart tight, trying to mediate. "We'll take care of it, sir. Maria just started today, but she's careful and hard-working." Robert frowned, annoyed. "Started today? Then train her faster. I don't pay for amateurs." Maria held her breath, fighting down the bitter taste of humiliation. He hadn't spoken directly to her, but it was about her, and the day had barely begun. Later, pushing her cart down the hallway, Maria overheard two executives laughing. "The company wants to cut costs. Who do you think they'll start with? The coffee and cleaning crew, of course." Naturally, nobody misses them. The words hit her like a slammed door. Nobody misses them. Maria squeezed the rag in her hand but kept moving. Children, she thought. Rent. Faith. Back in the coffee lounge, Mrs. Evelyn stirred her coffee gently. She looked Maria straight in the eyes. "You're doing beautiful work. Don't let them erase that." "Thank you, ma'am." Maria's voice nearly broke. "Today is my new beginning." "Then keep this in mind." Evelyn smiled. "Whoever plants respect will harvest dignity. Sometimes it takes time, but God sees everything." By 9 o'clock, the floor was buzzing with meetings, footsteps, and phone calls. Maria worked silently, but inside she was building a wall of strength against every laugh, every dismissive look. By mid-morning, she had already cleaned 3 conference rooms, the hallway and the lounge again. No mistakes, no complaints, until Rosa's phone buzzed with a message. "All cleaning staff, report to the lounge at 11 a.m., called by Mr. Robert." Rosa let out a heavy sigh. "Brace yourself, Maria. This will be your trial by fire." Maria closed her eyes for a moment, as if lighting a candle inside her soul. Whatever God wills. She pushed her cart forward, ready for whatever was coming. At 11 a.m. sharp, the cleaning staff gathered nervously in the executive lounge. The air was thick with silence, broken only by the faint hum of the coffee machine. Maria stood at the back, clutching her rag as if it were a shield. The elevator doors opened, and in came Mr. Robert. His polished shoes clicked against the floor, each step heavy with authority. His face was carved in stone, his eyes sharp, restless, demanding. He didn't just walk into a room. He took it over. "Good. Everyone's here." His tone was clipped, as if words themselves were a waste of his time. "Let's keep this short." He looked around, his gaze falling on each cleaner like a spotlight. When his eyes landed on Maria, they lingered a little longer. Not with curiosity, but with a cold kind of assessment, as if he were inspecting furniture. "This floor reflects my reputation," he began, "and lately it looks sloppy. Streaks on the windows, dust on the tables, trash not emptied on time. That is unacceptable." A murmur of protest rippled through the staff. Rosa, trying to defend her team, stepped forward. "Sir, with all respect, the crew works hard. We come early, we stay late." "Enough." Robert's voice cracked like a whip. "Don't explain. Don't excuse. Just deliver results." Maria felt her chest tighten. His words weren't just harsh. They dripped with contempt. She glanced at the others, heads down, shoulders hunched. No one dared meet his eyes. Then, like a predator circling its prey, Robert moved closer to Maria. "You." He pointed a finger. "The new one, Maria, right?" Her throat went dry. Yes, sir." "Tell me, Maria, do you think you're ready for this job? Do you think you can keep up in a place like this?" Every pair of eyes in the room shifted toward her, some with pity, others with the faintest smirk, like Jana, who crossed her arms, clearly enjoying the show. Maria straightened her back. I will do my best, sir." Robert let out a humorless laugh. Your best? Your best is not enough here. This is not a school project. This is a corporate environment. Perfection or nothing. Understand? Her hands trembled slightly, but she nodded. Yes, sir. Good. He turned away as if she had already disappeared. Now everyone back to work, and remember, one mistake and I don't care who it is. I'll have replacements by tomorrow morning. The staff dispersed quickly, eager to escape the storm, but Maria stayed a step behind, the weight of his words pressing on her shoulders. As she pushed her cart back into the hallway, she overheard two assistants whispering by the water cooler. He's impossible. No one ever pleases him. That's the point. He wants them scared. That way they never question him. Maria's stomach knotted. It wasn't just arrogance, it was control. Later, while she was scrubbing the conference room table, Robert walked in without knocking. He set his briefcase down and spoke without looking at her. Wipe faster. I don't have all day. Maria quickened her pace. Yes, sir. He watched her for a moment, then leaned closer, his voice dripping with disdain. You people are lucky to even have jobs here. Do you understand that? Maria froze. The sting of the words burned deeper than any insult. You people. It wasn't about cleaning, it wasn't about work, it was about who she was. She swallowed hard, her eyes fixed on the table as she whispered, Yes, sir. Robert smirked, satisfied with her silence, and walked out. When the door closed, Maria's hand lingered on the cloth, shaking. She blinked back tears, but inside her heart, something began to stir. A quiet fire, still small but growing. Across the hall, Mrs. Evelyn noticed Maria's pale face as she passed by. My dear, are you all right? Maria forced a smile. I'm fine, ma'am. Just a little tired. Evelyn's eyes narrowed with concern. She had seen that look before, the look of someone being crushed under unjust weight. Don't let him break your spirit, child, she said softly. Men like him build their power on silence. But silence doesn't last forever. Maria nodded, though she wasn't sure if she believed it yet. She returned to her cart, her thoughts echoing with Evelyn's words. Silence doesn't last forever. The next morning, the office was already buzzing when Maria arrived on the 17th floor. She held her mop like a soldier carrying a weapon, not out of pride, but out of survival. She knew today would test her again. She carefully polished the glass doors of the executive conference room. Her reflection looked back at her, tired eyes, worn hands, but steady resolve. She whispered, one day at a time. For my children. At 9 a.m., the executives began to gather for an important meeting. Men in crisp suits and women in tailored dresses swept past her without a glance. Maria stepped aside, keeping her head low. Just as she was about to leave, Mr. Robert's voice thundered across the room. Wait. She froze. Look at this floor, he barked, pointing at a faint scuff mark near the entrance. Does this look clean to you? Maria hurried to kneel down with her rag. I'll fix it right away, sir. The room went quiet. Several executives watched, coffee cups in hand, as Maria scrubbed the spot on her knees. The sound of her rag against the tile filled the silence. Robert folded his arms. Faster. People are waiting. Heat flushed her cheeks. Her hands shook as she scrubbed harder. One of the executives, a young man trying to impress Robert, chuckled. Maybe she needs a manual on how to mop. Laughter rippled through the room. Maria's chest tightened, but she kept working, swallowing her dignity with every stroke of the rag. Robert smirked. Stand up. She obeyed, her knees sore. Next time, don't wait for me to point it out. Use your eyes. That's what I pay you for. Maria bowed her head. Yes, sir. As she turned to leave, Jana's voice cut through the air. Careful, Maria. If you keep missing spots, you'll be back on the unemployment line before you know it. More chuckles followed. Maria paused for just a second, fighting back tears. But she refused to let them see her break. She walked out with her head slightly raised, even as her heart crumbled inside. In the hallway, Rosa was waiting with a bucket. Her face was pale with anger. That man has no shame. None. Making you kneel in front of them like that. Maria shook her head, forcing a small smile. It's fine, I can handle it. No, it's not fine, Rosa snapped. Don't let him treat you like dirt. But Maria stayed silent. Silence felt safer than fighting. Later that afternoon, Maria was cleaning the lobby again when Mrs. Evelyn appeared, carrying her handbag. She had clearly overheard whispers about the morning incident. My dear, is it true? Did he make you clean the floor in front of everyone? Maria hesitated, then nodded. It doesn't matter. It's just part of the job. Evelyn's eyes filled with sorrow and quiet fury. No, Maria, that's not just part of the job. That's humiliation. Don't let them trick you into believing otherwise. Maria bit her lip, torn between shame and relief. Someone had noticed. Someone had cared. That evening, as the office emptied, Maria stayed late to finish polishing the marble floor. Alone in the quiet, she let the tears finally fall, dripping onto the tiles she worked so hard to shine. She whispered through her sobs, Lord, please, give me strength. Don't let this break me. And though no one was there to hear, her voice carried through the empty floor like a prayer planted deep into the walls themselves. The humiliation had left its mark. But inside Maria's chest, that small fire grew stronger, a fire that one day would not stay silent. The morning after the public humiliation, Maria arrived earlier than usual. She thought being the first on the floor would give her a chance to work quietly, without stares, without laughter. But even before she finished setting her cart by the janitor's closet, she heard whispers. 2 voices. Familiar. She peeked around the corner. Jana stood with another cleaner. Lydia, their heads close together, smirks painted on their faces. Did you see her yesterday? Jana's voice dripped with amusement. On her knees, scrubbing like a servant in a palace. I almost felt sorry for her. Lydia chuckled. Almost. They both laughed. Maria's heart tightened. She wanted to walk away, but their words hooked into her. She froze, listening. People like her don't last long here, Jana continued. She's poor, she's uneducated, and let's be honest, this company doesn't want a black maid making the place look cheap. Lydia snickered, covering her mouth. Don't say that so loud. Oh, please, Jana shrugged. It's the truth. She should be grateful she's even allowed to step inside this building. Maria pressed her hand to her chest. The cruelty wasn't whispered to her face, but it cut deeper because it was behind her back. Invisible. Powerless. She closed her eyes, whispering to herself, For my children, I'll endure. But as she pushed her cart into the hallway, the sound of their laughter followed like a shadow. Later that day, in the break room, Maria poured herself a small cup of water. She had only a few minutes before needing to clean the conference rooms again. Jana entered, loud enough for everyone to hear. Careful, Maria. Don't spill that water on the floor. We wouldn't want Mr. Robert to think you can't handle a cup. A few others laughed. Maria looked down, silent. Rosa stepped in, frowning. Enough, Jana, she's working as hard as anyone here. Oh, relax, Rosa. Jana rolled her eyes. If she can't handle a little joke, she's in the wrong place. Maria walked out quietly, holding her cup like it was made of glass. She refused to let them see her tears. That evening, as Maria was collecting trash bags, Lydia approached her in the hallway. Hey, Maria. I heard Jana talking earlier. She's planning to set you up. Maria's brow furrowed. Set me up? She said she'll test you. Something about leaving a mess in one of the executive rooms, then blaming you if Robert finds it. Maria's stomach dropped. But why? I never hurt her. Lydia shrugged. Some people don't need a reason. They just like watching others fall. The next morning, Maria walked into the lounge and found a coffee cup spilled on the counter, sugar scattered across the surface. It was obvious. Too obvious. She cleaned it quickly just as Mr. Robert appeared. His eyes swept the counter. Finally, something done right. From the corner of her eye, Maria caught Jana watching, disappointed that her trap hadn't worked. Their eyes met for a brief moment. Jana smirked, whispering under her breath, "This isn't over." During lunch, Maria sat alone in the staff cafeteria, eating a sandwich wrapped in old paper. Around her, the others laughed and chatted. She felt like a shadow, present but not part of the world around her. Then a chair scraped the floor. Mrs. Evelyn sat down beside her. "You sit here all alone, my dear?" Maria nodded. "It's easier that way." Evelyn shook her head gently. "No, child. That's what they want. To make you feel small. To make you doubt your worth." Maria lowered her eyes. "They say I don't belong here. That I make the place look cheap." Evelyn reached across the table, touching Maria's hand. "Let me tell you something. Your dignity is worth more than all the marble in this building. Don't let their poison seep into your soul." Tears pricked Maria's eyes. For the first time in days, she felt seen. That evening, while sweeping the hall, Maria whispered to herself, "Their poison won't kill me. It will only make me stronger." And though the laughter still echoed, though the looks still stung, Maria carried her broom like a banner. Each step heavier with sorrow, but steadier with faith. Because deep inside she knew, God sees everything. The day of the inspection arrived. The entire building seemed to hold its breath. The executives rushed from room to room, checking papers, preparing presentations, polishing their own image as if the company's survival depended on it. For Maria, it was just another day of endless work. She had already scrubbed the marble floor twice, emptied every trash can, and polished the glass doors until they gleamed. Sweat trickled down her back beneath her uniform, but she didn't stop. At 10 a.m., the door to the executive lounge burst open. Mr. Roberts stormed in, tension sharp in his voice. "Maria!" She nearly dropped her rag. "Yes, sir?" He pointed to a corner of the lounge where someone had accidentally spilled coffee earlier. "Clean that up, now, and make sure there isn't a single trace." Maria knelt down with her rag, scrubbing the stain. She worked quickly, carefully, until the floor was spotless. But before she could stand, Robert's voice cut again. "Not like that, use your hands, I want it shining." Maria froze. She was already using a cloth. Why would he ask that? Slowly, she looked up. His eyes were on her, cold, expectant. Around them, two executives stood by the doorway watching the scene unfold like an entertainment show. Her throat tightened. "Sir, I already cleaned it." "Do as I said." His voice grew sharper, dripping with authority. "Or you can collect your things and leave." The room went silent. Even the hum of the coffee machine seemed to stop. Maria's heart pounded. She felt the eyes on her, not just Robert's, but the others. Watching. Waiting. With trembling hands, she lowered the rag and pressed her bare hand against the floor, scrubbing as humiliation burned through her skin. Her knees ached. Her dignity cracked. But she didn't stop. The executives chuckled softly. One whispered, "Unbelievable. He actually made her—" "Shh, he'll hear you." Maria bit her lip, fighting tears. She wasn't just cleaning anymore. She was being degraded. Robert finally spoke. "Better. See? When you listen, things get done right." He turned his back, dismissing her as if she were nothing. The executives followed him out, leaving Maria kneeling on the cold floor. Later that afternoon, in the supply closet, Rosa found Maria sitting on a stool, her face buried in her hands. "He didn't—" Rosa's voice trailed as she guessed what had happened. "Maria, did he really make you—" Maria nodded, tears running down her cheeks. "With my hands, Rosa, like I wasn't even human." Rosa clenched her fists. "That man is a devil. If I were you, I'd walk out and never look back." "I can't," Maria whispered. "My children need me. The rent is due. I can't lose this job." Rosa sighed, sitting beside her. "One day, Maria, God himself will take that man down. Mark my words." Maria wiped her tears. Her voice shook, but there was steel hidden inside it. "Until then, I'll endure." That evening, Mrs. Evelyn stopped Maria in the hallway. She noticed the red marks on Maria's hands. "My dear, what happened to you?" Maria hesitated, then whispered, "He made me scrub the floor with my bare hands, in front of others." Evelyn's eyes widened with outrage. "That is not work. That is humiliation. He will answer for this, Maria. Maybe not today, but one day." Maria looked down, ashamed. "I stayed quiet. I didn't defend myself. Maybe I'm weak." Evelyn shook her head firmly. "No, child. Silence is not weakness. It's patience. And patience is stronger than pride. But remember this. When the moment comes to speak, you must not hold back." Her words sank deep into Maria's heart, like seeds planted in fertile soil. That night Maria walked home slowly, her hands sore, her body aching. But it wasn't just her body that hurt. It was her soul. On the bus, she watched her reflection in the window. Behind her tired eyes, something flickered. Not just sadness, something sharper, something waiting. She whispered to herself, "I won't stay silent forever." The humiliation had reached its peak. But inside Maria, the quiet fire grew. A fire that would one day roar. The office was unusually quiet the next morning, but inside Maria's chest, the storm from yesterday hadn't settled. Her hands were still red from scrubbing the floor with her bare skin. Every time she looked at them, she felt the echo of Mr. Roberts' voice. "Do as I said, or leave." She had chosen silence. Silence to keep her job. Silence to keep her children fed. But that silence was starting to feel heavier than any bucket of water she carried. Maria moved quietly through the hallway, pushing her cart. A few executives passed by, chatting about stocks and profits. None of them noticed her. She was the shadow that made their world shine. In the lounge, she bent down to tie the trash bag when Jana appeared, leaning against the counter with a sly grin. "How are the hands, Maria? Still sore?" Maria froze. Jana smirked. Everyone saw it. On your knees, hands on the floor, you looked exactly where you belong. Maria wanted to answer, to shout, to cry. Instead, she tightened the knot on the trash bag and walked past without a word. Jana called after her, "That silence won't save you." Later that day, during lunch, Maria sat in the cafeteria with her small sandwich. The room was filled with noise, laughter, gossip, the clatter of trays. But around Maria, there was only silence. No one sat with her. Even Lydia, who sometimes whispered kindness, avoided her table. Maria bowed her head over her food, whispering a prayer under her breath. "Lord, give me strength. Show me why I must endure this." She remembered her children's faces, hungry, innocent, waiting for her at home. That was her answer. That was why she stayed quiet. In the afternoon, she was called to clean the conference room right after an important meeting. Papers were scattered, crumbs on the table, half-empty coffee cups. As she worked, she heard voices in the hallway. Mr. Robert, laughing with two executives. "You should have seen her yesterday," he bragged, on her hands and knees, scrubbing like a child. The men laughed. Maria froze. The rag in her hand shook. Her chest burned with shame. They weren't just laughing at her work. They were laughing at her. She lowered her head, biting her lip until it hurt, swallowing every word that wanted to come out. Silence. Always silence. When the room was empty again, Mrs. Evelyn entered. She found Maria wiping the same spot on the table over and over, her eyes glossy with unshed tears. "My dear, why are you punishing yourself like this?" Maria blinked quickly, straightening. "I'm just working, ma'am." Evelyn stepped closer, lowering her voice. "No, child. You're carrying their cruelty in your heart. That silence is cutting you from the inside." Maria finally looked at her, the pain pouring out through her eyes. "If I speak, I'll lose my job. If I stay quiet, I lose myself. What am I supposed to do?" Evelyn held her hands gently, ignoring the red marks. "Listen to me. Silence has its time, but so does truth. And when the moment comes, Your words will have more power than all of Robert's shouting. Maria's lips trembled. What if I'm not strong enough? You are stronger than you think, Evelyn whispered. And when you speak, I promise, the world will hear you. That evening, Maria left the building under the gray Atlanta sky. The streets bustled with cars, lights, and noise. But inside her, only silence echoed. She walked slowly to the bus stop, replaying every humiliation, every whisper, every laugh. Her silence had kept her job, but it was also building something dangerous, a weight on her soul that one day would have to break. On the bus, she sat by the window, pressing her forehead against the glass, the city lights blurred with her tears. Lord, she whispered, I can't carry this silence much longer. And though her voice was soft, though no one else heard, the words floated into the night like a promise. The silence that hurt her today would one day become the voice that shook the room. It was Friday morning. The building was buzzing with more tension than usual. An important investor was visiting, and every executive was running like ants to make sure nothing went wrong. For Maria, it was just another day. Floors to mop, trash to collect, coffee to refill. She moved silently through the lounge, but inside, her silence felt different. It wasn't weakness anymore. It was waiting. It was building. At 11 a.m., the investor arrived. Tall, sharp suit, a man whose opinions seemed to weigh more than gold. Mr. Robert hovered near him, smiling wider than usual, his arrogance polished into charm. Maria was in the corner of the lounge, refilling sugar bowls, when Robert suddenly stopped mid-sentence. His eyes fell on her. Maria? She turned slowly. Yes, sir? He gestured toward the floor near the investor's chair. There, a scuff mark. Clean it. Now. Maria walked over with her rag, kneeling down. Her hands shook slightly. She could feel every pair of eyes on her. The investors, the executives, even Jana's, standing smugly in the corner. Robert folded his arms. Faster. Maria scrubbed. The investor frowned, uncomfortable. Is this really necessary right now? Robert chuckled, waving him off. You'll see. My staff only works when I push them hard. Discipline, that's the secret. Laughter from a few executives followed. Maria's chest burned. She felt the same sting as the first day, the same weight of humiliation. But this time something inside her snapped. She stood up slowly, rag still in her hand. Her eyes locked on Robert's. For the first time, she didn't look away. The room froze. With respect, sir. Her voice trembled at first, then grew steadier. This is not discipline. This is humiliation. Gasps filled the room. Jana's smirk vanished. Robert narrowed his eyes. What did you just say? Maria's voice grew louder, stronger, as if years of silence had gathered behind it. I work hard. I scrub these floors before the sun rises. I polish this place until it shines. Not because I am nothing, but because I am someone. Because I have children who depend on me. Because I believe in dignity. The investor leaned forward, watching intently. Maria took a breath, her words pouring like fire. You call this discipline? Forcing me to use my hands on the floor like an animal? Laughing while I'm on my knees? That is not discipline. That is cruelty. And cruelty is not leadership. The lounge was silent. Executives shifted uncomfortably. Some looked away, ashamed. Robert's face flushed red. How dare you? But Maria didn't stop. She took one step closer, her eyes unflinching. You told me I should be grateful to be here. But today I remind you, it is not me who should be grateful. It is you. Because without people like me, this building doesn't shine. Without us, there is no order. Without us, there is no company. Her words hung in the air like thunder. The investor slowly leaned back in his chair, a small, approving smile tugging at his lips. Around the room, something incredible happened. A few of the staff who had been silent for months, Rosa among them, began to nod. One by one, soft claps echoed. Then stronger, until the room was filled with applause. Maria's hands trembled, but not from fear, from release. For the first time, she wasn't invisible. Robert stood frozen, his authority cracked. He opened his mouth to speak, but the applause drowned him out. Maria lowered her rag, her eyes shining with tears. She had spoken, and the world had listened. The applause started softly, like a ripple in water. Rosa's hands clapped first, firm and proud, then another, and another. Within seconds, the executive lounge, a place usually filled only with whispers and authority, shook with applause for Maria. Maria stood frozen, her chest heaving, her hands trembling. She had spoken from her soul, expecting punishment. Instead, she heard approval. Not just from the cleaning staff, but from some of the very executives who had once looked through her as if she didn't exist. Mr. Roberts' face darkened. He raised his hand sharply, trying to cut through the sound. Enough. This is not a circus. But no one stopped. The clapping grew louder. Even the investor, seated comfortably in his chair, slowly brought his hands together. Clap, 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 each sound like a hammer breaking Robert's power apart. Maria's knees wavered, but she stood tall. For the first time, she wasn't just a cleaner in uniform. She was a voice. A truth. You see? Robert barked, his voice cracking with anger. This is exactly what happens when you let the staff forget their place. He turned to the investor, desperate. You can't take this seriously. She's just... The investor raised his hand calmly, silencing him. His eyes turned to Maria. Please, finish what you were saying. Gasps filled the room. Executives who had never once listened to her now leaned forward, waiting. Even Jana, arms crossed, bit her lip, her smugness gone. Maria swallowed hard. Her heart pounded in her chest, but Evelyn's words echoed in her mind. When the time comes, don't hold back. She lifted her chin. All my life I've been told to stay silent, to work hard, to keep my head down, to be invisible. But today, I refuse. Her eyes swept across the room. Executives, staff, Robert himself. I am not invisible, none of us are. The cleaners, the security guards, the ones who sweep your mess when you leave, we are not shadows. We are people. We carry families. We carry dignity. And we deserve respect. Silence, heavy, sacred. Not a laugh. Not a whisper. Every single person listened. Even the hum of the vending machine seemed to fade. Jana shifted uncomfortably. Lydia, who often followed her lead, now avoided her eyes, ashamed. Rosa wiped tears from her face. She had dreamed of this moment, someone finally daring to say what all of them felt. And Evelyn, standing near the doorway, smiled with quiet pride. Robert slammed his fist against the counter, his desperation boiling over. This is absurd. You dare lecture me in front of my staff, in front of an investor. But before he could go on, the investor leaned forward, his voice calm but commanding. Mr. Robert, be quiet. The entire room gasped. Robert blinked, stunned. The investor turned back to Maria. What's your name? Her voice was steady now. Maria, sir. Maria. The investor repeated slowly, as if imprinting it on the room. Thank you for reminding us what true dignity looks like. The applause began again, stronger, louder. This time, even the executives joined without hesitation. Maria's heart swelled, tears streaming down her cheeks. She wasn't sure if this was real. For the first time in her life, her words, her truth, had brought an arrogant man to silence and forced the powerful to listen. Everyone had stopped, not because she demanded it, but because the truth made them listen. Robert stood in the corner, humiliated. His power was slipping, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. Maria lowered her head, whispering softly to herself so only God could hear. Thank you for giving me the courage to speak. And in that moment she knew. Silence no longer owned her. Her voice did. The applause finally faded, leaving a silence heavier than stone. But it wasn't the silence of fear anymore. It was the silence of truth revealed. a silence that made even the walls listen. Maria stood tall, her uniform damp with sweat, her eyes shining. For once, she wasn't just the woman cleaning the floor. She was the center of the room. Mr. Robert, red with rage, pointed at her like a judge delivering a sentence. "This is outrageous. She should be fired this instant. She's insubordinate, disrespectful." But the investor cut him off. "Enough." His voice was calm but final, the kind of tone that ends arguments before they begin. Robert froze. The investor turned toward the executives. "Is this how your company treats its staff? Is this the example of leadership you want me to support?" Uneasy glances spread across the room. For the first time, Robert's authority cracked under the weight of judgment, not from below but from above. Then Rosa stepped forward, her voice trembling but clear. "Sir, if I may, everything Maria said is true. We've all lived it. The insults, the threats, the way Mr. Robert treats us like dirt." Lydia nodded, guilt heavy in her face. "I was afraid to say it before, but yes, he humiliates us daily." One by one, the staff found their courage. Their voices overlapped. "He calls us names. He mocks our accents. He says we're replaceable." The room filled not with cleaning supplies or footsteps, but with testimonies. The voices of the invisible finally heard. Robert's eyes darted around, panicked. Lies. All of it. They're bitter. They're lazy. But before he could finish, Mrs. Evelyn's voice cut through like thunder. "I have seen it with my own eyes. The way you degrade them. The way you laughed as Maria scrubbed with her bare hands. Don't you dare call these people liars." Gasps filled the room. Evelyn, respected by all, had spoken, and her word carried weight. The investor leaned back, his gaze cold and decisive. "Mr. Robert, your behavior is unacceptable, inhumane, and it reflects directly on this company's values." Robert stammered. You can't listen to them, they're nobodies." The investor stood, his tall frame towering over the room. "And that is exactly your problem. You see nobodies. I see the backbone of this building. Without them, your office would crumble under its own filth." The executives shifted uncomfortably. Some nodded in agreement. Robert's face drained of color. Maria felt her knees weaken, not from fear this time, but from the weight of the moment. Could it be real? After so many days of swallowing tears, was justice finally breaking through? Rosa reached for her hand, squeezing it. "You did this, Maria. You gave us a voice." Maria shook her head, tears falling. "No. God gave us a voice. I just stopped hiding it." The investor turned to one of the executives. "Draft the paperwork. Effective immediately, Mr. Robert is suspended pending full review of his conduct." Robert staggered back. "You can't do this. I've worked here 20 years. You can't." The investor's glare cut him silent. 20 years of arrogance doesn't erase the truth spoken today. For the first time, Robert looked small, powerless, exactly as he had made others feel for so long. The staff looked at Maria. Some cried, some smiled, some simply stood, stunned that the man who once seemed untouchable was finally falling. Maria wiped her tears, whispering softly, "Justice. Thank you, Lord." And though the fight wasn't over, though Robert still raged inside, the tide had turned. The powerful had been unmasked. The humble had been heard. The news of Mr. Robert's suspension spread through the building like wildfire. What had once been whispers of fear now turned into whispers of relief. For the first time, the staff walked with their heads higher, their steps lighter. But in the center of it all was Maria. She stood quietly in the lounge, holding her rag, still trembling from the storm that had just passed. She had not planned to become a voice. She had not planned to confront power. Yet here she was, and the world was clapping for her. The investor, preparing to leave, turned back one last time. His eyes found Maria. "Maria, you reminded us all that dignity is not given by a title, but carried in the heart. This company needs more voices like yours, not fewer." He extended his hand. Maria hesitated, then shook it, her rough, tired hands trembling against his polished grip. The room erupted in applause once more. Not polite applause, not forced, but genuine. Executives, staff, even security guards. Everyone clapped. The sound filled the hall like thunder rolling across the sky. Maria's eyes blurred with tears. For so long, she had been invisible. Now, for the first time, she was seen. Jana, standing in the back, lowered her head, her smirk gone. Lydia moved closer to Maria, whispering, "I'm sorry for not standing up sooner." Maria nodded softly. It's never too late to choose what's right. Later that evening, Rosa and Maria walked out of the building together. The sunset painted the Atlanta sky in shades of gold and crimson. "You did it, Maria," Rosa said, her voice filled with pride. "You gave us all courage." Maria shook her head, smiling through her tears. "No, Rosa. God did it. He gave me the strength when I had none." They paused on the sidewalk, watching the city buzz with life. For the first time, Maria felt light, as if the weight she had carried for years had finally lifted. At home that night, Maria opened the door to her small apartment. Her children rushed to her, wrapping their arms around her waist. "Mama, you're home." She knelt down, kissing their foreheads. "Yes, my loves." And today Mama stood tall. Her children didn't understand the details, but they understood the smile on her face, the strength in her voice. Maria tucked them into bed, whispering a prayer over them. "Lord, thank you for showing me that silence may last a night, but joy comes in the morning." The next day, as she walked back into the building, heads turned. Not with mockery, not with disdain, but with respect. The same executives who once ignored her now greeted her with nods. The same co-workers who mocked her now looked at her with admiration. She had not only defended herself, she had defended them all. Maria's story became more than just a day at work. It became a lesson whispered through the hallways. Don't underestimate the humble. Their voice carries the truth. And though Mr. Roberts' shadow would linger in memories, his power had been broken. The applause that once fed his ego now belonged to Maria. Maria walked down the shining corridor, her rag in hand, her steps steady. She whispered to herself, "The floor still needs cleaning. The work doesn't stop. But now, they will never make me invisible again." And as she passed by the glass doors, she caught her reflection. Tired, strong, dignified, a woman who had faced humiliation and turned it into victory. Have you ever been humiliated but found the courage to stand up for yourself? Share your story in the comments. Do you believe, like Maria, that God never abandons the humble? Write your thoughts below. Encheramento. Never lose hope. Justice may take time, but it always comes. And in the end, the good will always triumph. The end.